Hello everybody, and welcome to Nostalgia News Network. Today, I, the host, am giving out 23 facts and details about the Polar Express. Sure, I'm a little late for this, as Christmas was a while ago, but who cares? Let's begin.
Well, you coming?
Where?
Why, to the North Pole, of course. This is the Polar Express.
The film was released by Warner Bros. Pictures on November 10th, 2004, although it premiered at the Chicago International Film Festival about a month earlier. It was directed by Robert Zemeckis, who is also the director for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the Back to the Future trilogy, Forrest Gump, and Castaway. The budget of the movie was an estimated $170 million, which was very expensive for an animated film at the time. Sure, some animated films nowadays do cost more, but still. And it managed to only gross $286 million during its original theatrical run, as it came out only a few days after Pixar's film, The Incredibles. But, thanks to its re-releases, the gross for the film ended up being more, at just over $318 million. The film was based on a book written in 1985 by author Chris Van Allsburg. Allsburg was also the author for Jumanji and Zathura, which would also go on to have movie adaptations in 1995 and 2005. The film stars Tom Hanks, who previously collaborated with Robert Zemeckis before on the films Forrest Gump and Castaway. Tom Hanks plays multiple roles in this film, including the motion capture for Hero Boy, his father, and the voices of the conductor, the hobo, and Santa Claus. In addition, in the role of Hero Boy, child actor Daryl Sabara does the voice acting, and actor Josh Hutcherson does additional motion capture. Speaking of which, yeah, that's what the main character goes by, Hero Boy. Although, according to some Polar Express-related sources, his real name is Chris, named after the author of the original book the movie was based on, Chris Van Allsburg. As for the hero girl, another character in the film, her real name is Holly, named after the type of plant associated with Christmas. The know-it-all's name isn't revealed either, but most people give him the name Lenny. Now, let's get into some details. In Hero Boy's bedroom, you can see a bull terrier hand puppet on one of the rails of his bed. This was taken straight from the book, and is an Easter egg used by Chris Van Allsburg in many of his books. The bull terrier was actually named Fritz, who belonged to the author's brother-in-law. Also, in the same room, above Hero Boy's bed on the wall, you can see a pennant for the University of Michigan. This is where the author of the book went to college. At the beginning of the film, a painting called The Discovery makes an appearance when Hero Boy is looking through the various objects. The painting was made in 1956 by artist Norman Rockwell. But in this film, the painting was altered a little so that the boy is holding the Santa hat by the top rather than the beard. A nod to the original author of the book can be seen when Hero Boy is seeing a picture of a mall Santa. The picture is said to be from Herpelsheimer's, where the train itself would pass later in the film.
Herpelsheimer's! Herpelsheimer's!
Herpelsheimer's was actually a real store in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids is where Chris Van Allsburg was born, in the east part of it. An address mentioned in the film by the conductor and hero girl is 11344 Edbrook.
11344 Edbrook.
Let's go on to 11344 Edbrook Avenue.
Being the address of Billy.
That's my address!
This is actually the real address where the director of the film, Robert Zemeckis, grew up, although the design of the house was based on one that was a few doors down where Zemeckis lived.
Do you know what kind of train this is? Well, do ya?
The model for the Polar Express is actually a Père Marquette 1225, a restored steam engine locomotive located in Osceola, Michigan. It is a 284 type built by the Lima Locomotive Works in 1941. But interestingly, Know-It-All mistakenly says it's a Baldwin 284 type built in 1931.
It's a Baldwin 284 S3 class Berkshire type steam locomotive, built in 1931 as the Baldwin Locomotive Works.
He's not very smart, isn't he? Also, the train model of 1225 is fitting, as it marks the date of Christmas, December 25th. Interestingly, the number of cars on the Polar Express changes throughout the film. Sometimes it has at least 20, such as the scene where it passes in the forest, but sometimes it has only 5. Also, all the cars are shown lit on the inside in the exterior shots of the train. But the car containing the broken and unwanted toys is dark and unlit.
Makes me want to cry. Seeing toys that were treated this way.
There are several differences between the book and this movie adaptation. Let's get into a few. First off, Hero Boy was not very hesitant to get on the train in the original book. But in the movie, he didn't want to get on the train, and it was only when the train started leaving that he decided to get on. Another difference is that in the book, the narrator claimed the kids ate nougat candies with centers as white as snow. This never happens in the movie. And lastly, there is a hot chocolate scene in the book, but it only shows a few chefs serving the hot chocolate normally. While in the movie, there is a musical number with waiters and chefs serving the hot chocolate in a very upbeat way.
Here we've only got one rule. Never, ever let it cool. Keep it cooking in the pot.
This film marks Michael Jeter's last film performance as he died on March 30th, 2003, before the film was completed. He was the voice for the two train conductors, Smokey and Steamer. Voice actor Andre Soliuzzo recorded the remaining dialogue for those two characters, as well as most of Jeter's already existing dialogue. There are several references to the Back to the Future trilogy in this film, which, fun fact, were also directed by Robert Zemeckis. Let's get into them. At the beginning of the film, when Hero Boy is looking through the pictures, you can see a few people dressed as Santa Claus holding signs that say yes to Lone Pine Mall construction. Lone Pine Mall was the new name of the Twin Pines Mall shopping center in the first film after Marty ran over one of the trees. In another scene, for one brief moment, you can see a working flux capacitor inside the engine room. This was the object used in Back to the Future for the DeLorean to travel through time.
This is what makes time travel possible. The flux capacitor.
In another scene, when Hero Boy blows the whistle, he says he wanted to do that his entire life.
I've wanted to do that my whole life.
Doc Brown said the same thing in the third part of the Back to the Future trilogy when he blew the whistle of the train he was driving.
I wanted to do that all my life.
Even the sound of the whistle on both trains is the same. Another source material this movie can be seen is another adaptation of the classic story A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, as it focuses on a child who doesn't really believe in Santa Claus, and instead of the ghosts of past, present, and yet to come as the ghosts who appear in it, instead there is the hobo, the conductor, and Santa Claus. In fact, when Hero Boy is about to fall asleep, the clock on his drawer says 10:20 p.m., which is when the ghost of Jacob Marley arrived in the Alastair Sim version of the classic story.
Can you sit down?
I can.
Well, do it then.
Speaking of that story, in the broken toy car of the train, there is a Scrooge puppet that is controlled by the hobo. The design of the puppet would go on to be used in the 2009 animated film adaptation of A Christmas Carol, also directed by Robert Zemeckis. In addition to that, in the background, you can see a soldier doll. This same soldier doll would be fixed and be used as one of the presents Hero Boy gets on Christmas at the end of the film. There are several deleted scenes in the film. There is a song called It Takes Two, sung by Smokey and Steamer.
Put it all together. Put it all together. Two hands are always better than one.
And hey, there was even a fart joke in it.
A tiny spark to lighter. Tender love and care.
Another deleted scene shows the demise of the hobo character. If you didn't know, the hobo scene in the film is actually a ghost. The scene that was taken out explained his backstory. Apparently, the hobo wanted to ride the Polar Express for free, so he climbed up onto the roof of one of the cars. But the train approached the flat top tunnel, and boom! He got knocked off the train and died.
He got slicked off this train like snow off a Georgia swamp in July. His ghost still rides this train.
It was a shame this scene was taken out, because it explained quite a bit of backstory. There is an error during the scene with the caribou crossing.
Caribou?
Even though the animals seen are supposed to be caribou, the sound one of them makes is actually that of an elk. Sure, there are similar creatures, but they are not the same. In the North Pole Communications Room, one of the elves describes a bad boy in Maplewood, New Jersey, who put gum in his sister's hair.
Some kid from Maplewood, New Jersey stuck some gum in his sister's hair.
The boy's name happens to be Steven.
This kid's name is Steven.
This is a reference to Steven Spielberg, who is Robert Zemeckis' friend and mentor. Spielberg has admitted many times that he terrorized his two younger sisters. And the location of the boy being in New Jersey is another reference because Steven Spielberg grew up there, among other places. In a surprise cameo, Steven Tyler of the band Aerosmith makes an appearance as an elf in the elf band near the end of the film. He was the one who sang the song Rockin' on Top of the World in this film.
Rockin' on top of the world. Rockin' on top of the world.
The movie would go on to have a video game on the PC, GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Game Boy Advance. The plot of the game mostly follows that of the film, but there is a huge difference. While the Scrooge puppet had a minor role in the film, in the video games, he's the main antagonist. He wants the kids to stop believing in Santa Claus and even steals their tickets. So it's up to Hero Boy to stop him and get the tickets back. While the console versions of the game are in 3D, the Game Boy Advance version, like with a lot of the games on that handheld system, is a 2D side-scroller. The movie was nominated for several awards, some good, some bad. For the good, it was nominated for Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Original Song at the Academy Awards. At the Golden Globes, it was nominated for Best Original Song, and at the Grammy Awards, it won the award for Best Song Written for a Motion Picture, Television, or Other Visual Media for the song Believe by Josh Groban. For the bad, it was nominated at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards for Worst Song for the song Hot Chocolate, and Worst Christmas Film. Thankfully, it didn't win any of them, because the film is nostalgic to me and for many others. Aside from the film being nostalgic, the reviews at the time of the film's release were mixed. The film, at the time of recording this dialogue, has a 6.6 rating from the audience on the Internet Movie Database, and a 55% rating from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Several critics stated the animation was creepy and the plot was thin. The audience's score was a bit better though, with a 64%, because again, the film was a favorite among kids of that era growing up. Did you enjoy this video? Then make sure to give the video a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos. Nostalgia News Network is also on Facebook and Instagram. The links will be in the description for those websites. The videos uploaded here will also be on Odyssey and BitChute. The links to those websites are also in the description. Thanks for tuning in to Nostalgia News Network, and I'll see you all next time.